Have your attention, please. It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast. Alrighty, guys, welcome to the show. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the Patriot Angle Podcast, Unfiltered, with Michael Gardner, streaming live on Facebook, also on our Facebook group page, the Unfiltered Patriots of America, as well as Rumble, streaming live on Rumble. Joining us here is Sos. How are you doing, Sos? Welcome to today's show. So, Sos, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to tonight's show, Sos. How's everything going on your end? Hey, Sos, you there, bud?
Stupid. God.
So, welcome to today's show. Guys, we got a heated show today. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. I want to get into the just what's going on with Joe Biden, literally. The coming fall of the Bidens, and then people are now realizing how crazy this administration is. We got a lot to talk about, even Donald Trump's predictions here coming into the show. Guys, we got a heated show, a very much heated show. I want to get into this this new thing that's coming out here. Just basically what's going on, just with the Bidens and everything else. But first and foremost, I want to welcome everybody. Basically, coming in here. Like I said, we've been dealing with a lot of several key factors here on the show. Basically, the other day I made an announcement that we were kicked off of YouTube, believe it or not. Yeah, literally kicked off of YouTube. They pulled the plug on us. They didn't even give us a warning. That literally just said, we're getting rid of you guys. You're saying a lot of misinformation. I did a whole show about that. A whole show that we were literally removed from YouTube. So if you check us out on YouTube and you see that it says content not available, that means ScrewTube there, the San Fernando sickos there in San Francisco, literally pulled the plug on us. So we're not allowed to stream anything on YouTube. That's why we have basically went over to Rumble, and eventually we will be on Truth Social when it becomes available to more users out there. So if you guys check us out on
Can you hear
Rumble,
me?
Yes, how are you doing, Gus?
Okay, I am sorry about that. Okay, well, boy, I am ticked. It's gonna be a great show. I mean, sorry about that. I didn't mean to. No,
Fine. You're fine.
Hey, we should ask, how are you feeling? I heard that from a bird, from somebody. I heard that you got food poisoning from Chipotle. How did you get that better?
The other day, what's today? Today's Monday already. Jeez. The other day on Saturday, I was noticing that my stomach was literally going through like a battle. Like literally right after I had ate Chipotle. Like I said, Sos, it must have been a bad case of Chipotle or something. Maybe the lettuce gone bad or something, and I just didn't notice it. at first. Right shortly after that, my stomach was like giving that like gargling sound. Normally when you ate something bad, or you having bad stomach indigestion and all that. So I was like, all right, let me take a shower. Usually a shower helps out and stuff like that, and drink a glass of water or something. Maybe it'll clear up. But it wasn't working. So then that whole day, Sauce, I literally, I was feeling like hell. I was feeling like shit. So earlier today, I went over to the doctor. The doctor did tell me that I did have a minor case of food poisoning. So
Dang. Well, I'm glad that you're feeling better.
yeah,
Boy,
he was going to prescribe me regular medicine, but this is not actually a regular doctor. He can prescribe regular medicine as a doctor, but I told him how I feel about regular medicine. I'm not a big advocate for over-the-counter medication or any type of antibiotics. I'm a very, very, I'm a person that I love holistic type of medication.
yeah.
So he prescribed me some kind of natural holistic medication with green tea extracts mixed with organic mixed berries. And I'm telling you right now, Sas, that did some wonders. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But
Hey, well,
yeah, definitely feeling a lot better. Definitely feeling a lot better. The stomach pain has gone away because my stomach was literally in pain for like a day and a half, almost 2 days from that.
wow.
And, yeah.
Hey, well, so I just want to catch your viewers up. So I just want to tell you, I've been having very heavy technical issues on my end, and so I'm glad that we got it somewhat fixed.
Right.
No, last week. So here's what's going to happen. I was in the village or the city hall meeting, and guess what? We're going to be new taxed, and on top of this, $40 billion that just got passed. Heavens forbid you
Right.
want to put America first, But either way, what happened was last week we're going to be taxed for the water we use, the cold and hot water. We have to use a certain amount, and if we go over that per month, we get taxed on it.
Oh
And
my God.
and get this. So we are now officially going to have people come into our houses. There's going to be a task force to go in and inspect each house to make sure where they want to make sure that the guns are safe. And so it's going to be called the Gun Task Force because of all the shootings in Madison. So the mayor has officially brought this new task force. And so it's going to start implementing the first of, I think, July. That's when they're going to start implementing. So each house in Madison has to be inspected to make sure where the guns are and make sure they're locked. You call that the violation of the Second Amendment? That's non-constitutional. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I think they're overstepping their boundaries. I think it could be possibly invasion of privacy. That I would look at that, Sauce. I would look at invasion of privacy. I would look at invasion of free speech, invasion of freedom to occupy. Right. Those are three main factors that I would look up, and I would bring that up to your congressional leaders, both on the local and the state scale.
Well, and even Governor Evers actually loved the idea because he's stating that we have to protect our next generation and we have to protect people from getting the guns, and to me, this sounds like more power grab, more control, like, heavens forbid, with all the, we've had now, if anybody from Milwaukee, New York, and the shootings this past weekend, my heart goes out to your families. And I can't express what you guys are going through, but seriously, we wouldn't be having this problem if President Trump was president. We would not be having this problem. There'd be respect inside of our police for law enforcement. It was interesting because I listened to the interview, the press conference in Milwaukee after that shooting happened after the Bucks game, and
Yeah.
and you know what happened with the mayor of Milwaukee, the new mayor. He's like, one reporter asked him, he's like, well, they're like, well, what do you think about law enforcement? He's like, well, the law enforcement need to do their job better. It's not my fault they're retiring early. He's like,
Right.
I understand that we cut their budget, and there's a reason, because there is hate crime. Well, how do you explain the hate crime when just 2 hours before the Milwaukee shooting, there was another shooting on 22nd Street, and that shooting it was a black on black crime? How do you explain that? I mean, cry me a river, why don't you? And see, and
Yeah.
it shows, and it starts with your local politicians. When they have no respect for police, law enforcement, we see the repercussions of it, and, oh yeah, we need to not defund the police. We need to fund the police. No, I haven't seen, no, you want, no, this is a complete
You know
joke.
what, Sos? I haven't seen one damn remark or comment come from the president from this whole shooting that happened last week. I have not yet seen Biden touch on any of it.
No,
Nothing.
no. And what about the Philadelphia shooting? That guy that was pumping his gas. I don't know if,
Yeah.
yeah. What about that? Now, to me, they look like they're, and, I understand, as being in the military and stuff. And if you want to, like, if you hate the individual and stuff, or if you're like in combat,
Yeah.
you got to do it in the middle of the night, where there's something inside your brain where your brain is too relaxed, and because it's in the sleep stage and it's like fatigue, that's where you do it at the middle of the night. But
Right.
these criminals are doing it in broad daylight. And what are the police officers doing? And here's what I heard. I have inside sources from Philadelphia from that shooting, because they said, hey, can you do a special podcast for our family and stuff? I'm like, well, need more diving information. But they stated that there were 3 police cars just about there were 3 police cars, I think right next door on the next street, like it was at a coffee shop. It was at Starbucks, and there were 3 police cars there. All 3 of them were sitting in their cars. And what are they doing? And what did they do? I mean, they didn't do anything. They stayed, according to my inside source, they took about a 10-minute response time just to walk. And they were walking distance to the gas station. They were walking distance.
That's the society we live in. You have these police officers that are so damn afraid of even trying to do their job because if they approach these assailants or these people committing the crime, right, that they're actually going to sue that police precinct for a hate crime, or they're going to sue them for obstruction of justice and this and that, and overstepping their boundaries as a police officer. So these police officers are scared to death now, more than ever.
And it shouldn't be that way. It really should not be that way.
Yeah.
And when I had to, even when I was at I had to go to a doctor's appointment, and I went to my doctor's appointment, and what happened was that I was driving by Madison, of course, that's where I live in, and there was a shooting in broad daylight, and this car, it was a white car, and
Yeah.
it was a white Prius. All the windows were blown out. The door was wide open, and there was a body just on the floor, or not on the floor, but on the ground. And just people, it's like, where is the compassion? Where is the caring? And the police, and I sat and I pulled and kind of waited. I'm like, okay, how long is the police response time? Because it literally just happened.
Yeah.
And it literally just happened. I was almost scared. I remember the whole military thing was brought back to me, and I'm like, okay, am I like, do I need to protect myself or what? But so what happened? What happened was, I counted, and just that one shooting alone that killed, or that I don't know if that man was hurt or not, but he ended up on the news, and the police response time took, how many minutes? It's not seconds. You know how many minutes?
What's that?
25 minutes. 25 minutes for a fucking police response.
Jeez. And what was the reason behind that long delay time, the response time from the police? Did they have a comment on that? Did they leave a comment to the public?
Oh, so that police ended up being county sheriff, because our mayor is too worried about police officers, so we don't have city police. So it actually ended up being county sheriff. So that's why it took 25 minutes.
Wait a minute. You're telling me, okay, and you're also saying to the audience here, the viewers that's tuning us in, that there is no police activity whatsoever in that area.
It's county sheriffs.
County sheriff. So how many is that? Like 3, 4, if that?
Well, it's in Dane County, so it's I think there's a couple hundred, but you're talking about almost a million population,
Right.
and
So
you're talking.
you have 100 sheriff deputies that have to serve well over 100 million of a population of a town. That's I'm sorry, Sauce. That's unacceptable. I mean,
Look at what happened at my dad's church. My dad's a pastor, and there was a fight that broke out. You know how much the response time took? 2.5 hours. He said that it took 2.5 hours for the police to show up, the county
good
sheriffs.
grief.
And
That's
the fight, and see, and the fight was over a stupid vaccine thing. They fought over a vaccine and of the status and all that. So what happened was that my dad's like he first of all did his due diligence, but then the fight ended up like escalating really quick. And so then what are people supposed to do in the church then? What were they supposed So the funeral was stopped and people were, you had to have the other family members hold down these two people that were going at each other's throats. And my dad called the police and he said, yeah, it took me 2.5 hours for the police officers to come. 2.5 hours.
that's terrible. I mean, 2.5 hours. I mean, like I remember a time in society when I grew up as a kid. I grew up up north in the New Jersey, New York City area. And I mean, even living in an area like that, we never had long delay times. The only time you would say a long delay time is if the 911 panel was basically being over flooded by calls. That's the only time. But other than that, we always had enough police to serve the communities, enough state troopers on interstates to serve the interstates and the major expressways. We've always had enough police activity in the area to serve the people. Now you don't have it. It's there's so much budget reform going on in the police industry, the local sheriff industry, all this. There's so much budget reform going on in this country. It's terrible. It's sick, if you ask me.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny how Biden tried to like blow it off on calling it, he's like, well, we need to fund the police. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. All these politicians now switching the key, stating, oh, we need to budget, we need to fund, not defund. No, I'm sorry. The damage has already been done. I don't know if people really realize that, but the moment the damage has been done because you have the local politicians and even your national politicians stating that, well, you know what, if you see any Republican out there or you see any Trump cabinet members, you come up to them, you raise hell to them.
Yeah,
And
you remember who said that? Actually, that was
Maxine Waters.
Maxine Waters made that famous quote. What was that during the Trump administration? Yeah,
Yeah. And
where
then,
she said, "If you see them, you raise hell and tell them that we don't want them in our town." That's a
yeah.
mob. That's a mob, if you ask me, Sauce.
Well, this is also mob too. You have Kamala Harris stating that, well, they're going to do what they're going to do until they get their way
Yeah,
in 2020. I'm sorry. And Joe Biden stating that, I'm sorry, you can't say those kind of things because you have an uneducated generation. I hate to say it. My generation is very uneducated because, they're all opinion based.
well, I want to stop you right there and kind of correct that. Okay, you do make a point. They're uneducated, but they're not uneducated when it comes to labeling things. They're very educated when it comes to labeling things. They're quick to point out the finger on somebody and call them a racist or a bigot or a white supremacist. But when they, try to rephrase an actual scenario or a situation that's going on, Sauce, they don't know a damn thing about the history behind that. They call out, these white supremacists for this and that. They're calling out, what was it? Even remember when Donald Trump was in office, they were saying that that George Washington was what the hell they call him? George Washington was the ultimate racist of America. Like what?
Yeah. Or how they stated that that Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, she's a white supremacist.
Yeah, speaking of lieutenant, yeah, I seen that. Speaking of lieutenant governor, do you see what they're doing with the new lieutenant governor that's running for Georgia?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, boy, that you want to talk about Georgia. I mean, it's funny because I got so I'm on, I'm part of the Republican Party at national level, and I got an email from them stating, "Hey, would you want to go out campaigning for Brian Kemp? We'll pay you 1,200 a week and stuff." I'm like, just for 1 week because the primary's next week, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I mean, hey, if I were in Georgia, okay,
Right.
I would pick David Perdue over Brian Kemp because at least David Perdue has some balls on him compared to Brian
He's got a
Kemp, who,
backbone. Yeah, he's got the
yes,
backbone, the voice. Brian Kemp is a freaking turncoat, if you ask me. A rhino. I mean,
yeah, yeah. What do you think about Herschel Walker? What's your perspective? You're in Georgia. What do you think about the election that's going on? Because the primaries are next week. Is that right?
yeah, the primaries are next week in the state of Georgia. Herschel Walker, my viewpoint on Herschel Walker, a phenomenal political advocate in his own aspect. He actually is a legend for the University of Georgia, right? Go Bulldogs. A former football player for the University of Georgia for the Bulldogs. Okay, Herschel Walker. When you talk about Herschel Walker, especially in the Atlanta, Georgia, Athens area of Georgia. The man, I mean, he speaks to numbers on this. Herschel Walker, I think, if he gets in, I think he can do tremendous for the state of Georgia. He can turn things around. He could loosen the restrictions in the political aspect. So, do I have Herschel Walker's support? You damn right I do.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's. Oh yeah, man, that Senate race in Pennsylvania. That is, oh, man, I don't know who to believe because I hear from like those three different candidates. You have Oz, and then you have that one gal that's like she said that she was tied to a BLM, and then and then she went and redacted her statement stating that no, I support the police, but back in 2020 she supported the BLM. What do you think about the whole Pennsylvania fiasco and the whole debate? I want your take on it.
The whole debate on Pennsylvania, I
No,
think
like
it's
just quick glimpse, like not quick glimpse, but like what's your overall like who do you think's got Pennsylvania for the Republican primary?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell because I don't follow Pennsylvania too often. To be honest with you, Sauce, I haven't followed politics in Pennsylvania or Pennsylvania politics for a very long time. So it's hard to tell. I don't know. I don't really think that anybody really has a strong voice for Pennsylvania, to be honest with
I
you.
don't think so. No,
Pennsylvania has seen a lot of fraud. I mean, Pennsylvania is one of the top states there when it
along
comes
with
to political fraud. You
along
know,
with Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got to be number one.
they're cousins, yeah, in their own
Yeah,
aspect.
yeah, they're cousins from Kentucky because Kentucky's
Yeah.
got like rhinos.
Oh yeah,
you
they
know,
do. They yeah.
Well, and look at okay. So, speaking of rhinos, look at Mitch McConnell. You suddenly need a face mask when you're out in public to like stay away from people, but when you're in Ukraine, you suddenly all those safety barriers finally go away. I mean,
Yeah.
how much of a fraud do you have to be? Like, oh, you're suddenly like you don't even need a bullet vest. I mean, that tells you how shallow our politicians really are in on both sides. It's
Well,
like, oh,
yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
well, it's like, for instance, like, well, we got to make sure that you're all like that whole peppermint patty, how before they're all good with, she's like, oh, you guys are good with masks. And then next, peppermint patty starts wearing a mask. And then she tells all the news correspondents to do the same at the White House. But then when you go to Ukraine or when you go to outside the countries, oh, well, we can't see. We're all good because we're all vaccinated, we're all vaccinated.
Yeah.
We're all, well, the question is, are they really vaccinated or do they just have saline? Well, I think they have saline, but
It's all political theater, Sauce. It's
it
it's
is.
been like that for quite some time now. Like I've said it on the show. You probably heard me mention it several times. Like they want you to literally live this theory of theirs, and they made this theory very famous. Do what I say, not as I preach. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
what they're preaching, they're not necessarily doing in their own aspect. You mentioned Peppermint Patty, right? Jen Psaki, right? We don't have
Yep.
to worry too much about her because she's no longer the press secretary, right? She stepped down last week. She now has a new role on what is it?
MSNBC.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen that yet.
No.
God, I don't even want to see it. It's a freaking nightmare, to be honest with
No.
you.
And the new press secretary mumbled, and she humiliated herself today. She mumbled words out, and then she couldn't and I have a question though. Isn't that conflict of interest? Because why is it that she's dating a CNN correspondent, and they're, according to sources on Fox News and Newsmax, they're in a violent domestic abuse, and she's a lesbian and stuff. She identifies herself as alphabet person. And isn't that a conflict of interest? Because how
Oh,
is it that
it's a huge conflict of interest. But don't say that. Don't say that because you'll be shadow banned off of social media for misinformation. You
Oh
know.
yeah, that's right. I've already been shadow banned. What's next?
Yeah, I mean they
They
kicked
come
us
to your
off the
house?
curb. Yeah, the guys in the white coats and stuff, they'll be coming on knocking on your door, which they kicked us to the curb finally off of YouTube. Sorry folks, if you go to YouTube and you search the Patriot Angle podcast, it'll come up content not available. Yeah, they kicked us off last week.
Oh yeah, and then speaking of people coming to your door, guess what? So guess what? Governor Evers put a task force. So
What's
Governor
that?
Evers, Governor Evers, there was a first arrest under his new task force to go after people that live in Wisconsin, that reside in Wisconsin, that went to January 6th. Just down the road, a 21-year-old was arrested, and just
Yeah.
because he attended January 6th. So he put a task force paid by George Soros and the DA. See, and
Yeah.
I'm on. Isn't that scary? How you have a governor that's like going after infringing people's rights and arresting innocent civilian people, like just because they went to a peaceful rally.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. So can our we have a viewer that's tuning in on our live Rumble channel here right now. Katz Nash MVP is basically commenting exactly what you just said, Sauce. And I'm going to say this right here: Katz Nash MVP comment. This is coming out of the Biden mob, Sauce. So yeah. I mean, thank you very much for your support there. Katz Nash MVP of Rumble. Sas, this is the Biden mob at its best. That's what it is.
And it's Russia all over. It's Russia 2.0. And that's why I say that, hey, welcome to Russia 2.0, because we're at it. And the people are like, and see, what's so frustrating is how people can say that Biden's doing such a fantastic job, a phenomenal job, actually. And,
Yeah.
and they don't see the problem with it, and that's
Yeah.
look at, you go inside the stores, and I went inside my local store. You know
Yeah.
what? One thing I could not find is baby formula.
Well,
Not one
you're
bottle.
not going to find it though. But if you go over to countries such as
Ukraine
Canada,
or
if you
yeah.
go to Canada, the country north of us, they don't have problem with baby formula.
No.
So this just comes down to another distraction that the Biden administration of what we're calling today's episode 259, Biden's media flaws this past week. This is more flaws coming out of the Biden administration. Another huge distraction. What they should be talking about is what's going on with Hunter Biden. What's going on with
Yes.
the laptop from hell? What's going on with Hillary? You don't hear any of that crap coming out,
No, and not only that, but you should also hear and not only that, but talk about what's really going on with the biolabs in Ukraine. The 30 biolabs that were American funded, and
Yeah.
where did those go? And
Yeah.
and what happened to those? And how come those were started? Around
Yeah.
2014. How come they're not
Ex-
being discussed about that?
exactly. And didn't we just send $40 billion over there? Like,
Yes,
what was that for?
that was and you know how much we sent last week? We sent $14 billion last week, and I'm like, you know what? If anybody wants to get rich, all they have to do is go to Ukraine, and
Yeah.
once they go to Ukraine, they have money. And you know what's sick about President Zelensky is that he's begging other countries to, to cover them, to, give them. And of course, Britain, he's liquidating Britain. He is literally liquidating the whole NATO countries. That's what he's doing.
Oh,
And that's why I
sure.
have, but the whole bigger agenda is this whole agenda 2030, which is this one world order,
Yeah.
and I mean, no offense. I mean, if you're listening overseas, I know I have listeners overseas that are near those countries. My heart goes out to you guys. But this is not talking about the innocent people. This is talking about the government. So I want to
Oh
get that
yeah,
out there.
we do
Yes.
have heavy activity on the show that does tune in from Russia and Ukraine and
So
other
so
countries as well.
I want to
So
clarify that, Michael. I want to clarify that. I'm not making light of, the whole situation. I would just want to clarify that.
yeah,
But politically though, I mean, politically, they're putting literally all the countries last. And President
yeah.
Zelensky's what is President Zelensky doing at the billboards, American Billboard Awards? What is he really doing there? He was there on Sunday in
Yep.
attendance. What was he doing there? And he was at
Uh,
the Grammys, and he was anywhere else. And now there's a push for him to get a Nobel Peace Prize. What, Nobel Peace Prize for being the
for
most corrupt,
what?
being a ass? Probably, I don't know.
It comes down to supremacy of leadership. That's what it comes down to. You said he was over there. He wants a Nobel Peace Prize and this and that. But for what? What did he do? What did he do? Because he stood up to Vladimir Putin of Russia. He's standing up because the media is playing it out. Oh, he's such a superhero of his own country, and he's fighting for his citizens of freedom and liberties and this and that. But is he really fighting for liberties and freedom, or is he
or is he
fighting
arrested?
to? Yeah,
Or
or go ahead, Sauce. I'm sorry.
or is he fight? Well, actually, here's an interesting fact. Did you know? Now, actually, I have. This is actually also my inside sources are actually in Ukraine and stuff. Did you know that if you live in Ukraine and you speak against the war that's going on, your neighbor can report you and charge you with committing treason against the country? And people have been arrested in Ukraine by their own government for speaking out against the
Well,
war.
see, they can do that, Sauce, because they don't have. See, Ukraine isn't an America. Russia isn't an America. They're not United States. They don't have the same constitutional background and values as we share. You can get charged as a treason or committing treason to your country there because they don't express the same values as we do. There's no constitutional republic there. That's why they can do that, you know.
But then America has to give them more and more money, though. It just doesn't. I mean, it doesn't make
Well,
sense.
yeah, you
And
see this the other day was Zelensky literally flaunting optimism as Russia retreats from Kharkiv. Is that how you say it? Kharkov?
Kiev,
Kiev. Yeah. Yeah. You
yeah,
know, I don't
and
know.
and and now there's new photos I'm going to send to you over message where there's actually Ukrainian soldiers are being arrested by Russian citizens or Russian military, and you know what they're finding? They're finding swastikas as tattoos, and it's just not one, but hundreds of Ukrainian militaries are
There's
uh,
so you're telling me they're finding that's very interesting because this would be basically dating back to the old you know uh, regimes of Adolf Hitler. You know when he was trying to pass that and push that in Germany all those years back with the Jews. I mean, this dates back all the way back then. So that's very interesting that they're pushing that theory. You said this is coming out of Ukraine.
yes, and they're actually let me find the picture. I'm actually finding it right now for you, where somebody actually sent me. Uh, and so yeah, this is actually coming out of Ukraine, where and the whole thing is that this is where I'm kind of starting feeling I'm not feeling bad for the Ukraine anymore. At this point, because they are they're a horrific country. They are, the government is corrupt as it can be. And the only reason why President Zelensky became president is because we meddled in their elections.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the defense minister, Oliski, I can't pronounce his name, Razalakov, said that Ukraine was entering a new long-term phase of the war. Now, folks, we see what's going on right now that Russian forces are controlling a horseship shaped swath of territory in the Ukrainian areas of Donetsk. Sasha, you're going to have to help me out with this pronunciation because I can't pronounce half of these towns here. And Lusafakis, if I'm pronouncing that right, which make up the eastern Donbass region along the border of the industrial regime where Ukraine has battled Moscow-backed separatists since 2014. Sox, this goes back to 2014. 8 years ago, they've been battling this crap.
And you know who started that battle? Obama. When we pulled out troops. Yeah.
Sure.
And Obama's the one that he gave, like, you know, and see this is what ticks me off. Okay. Why are we meddling in other countries' elections? So what? So we can feel like this proxy war. And you know what? This is, I hate to say it, but if President Trump was president, actually, no, I'm proud to say, if he was president and the war broke out, you know what? We had assets there. Well, he would send about 59 missiles, just like what he did in Syria, and it lasted about 5 minutes, and then there you go. You know, and the fact,
why are we meddling with foreign countries like this? Because one, we've been doing it for years, and two, it's waste of taxpayers' money. You know, like, let them deal what they want to deal with. You know, if Zelensky wants to have supremacy over his country and Putin wants supremacy over his country, let them have it. Let them deal with their own shit. You know, let's worry about our country first before we deal with them. You know, when they start sending missiles and tanks and, you know, Russian soldiers over to the States on our soil, then we get involved. But let's leave it at that. You don't see other countries dealing with the same crap that we deal with. You don't see Canada dealing with it. You know, Great Britain is dealing with it. They kind of make the same mistakes as we do, you know, but you don't see countries like Canada or any other countries in that matter. They don't deal with it. They don't have foreign conflicts like we do. They're like, oh, you know, that's their own crap. Let them deal with it. You know?
And not only that, but they don't. Not only that, but at least, you know. Well, and here's the whole thing. Okay, about 3 weeks ago, we gave $10 billion to protect the Ukrainian border. Man, you know what? We could have used that $10 billion to build our own protect our own borders. To protect
we could have used the $10 billion to finish the 30 miles of the border wall that's still, you know, material that's still sitting on the damn border, rusting away. We could have used that 30 billion or whatever it was to finish the 30 miles of the border wall. But no. Joe Biden, their basement Joe, will be like, it's not necessary. It's not. No,
we need to protect my good old friend President Zelensky so I can get more money from him, you know, through that pipeline of his.
Yeah. Speaking of Biden here, did you see here? We got a clip here we'll plug in right now on Bill O'Reilly had this on his show about a couple days ago. The coming fall of the Bidens. What's really going on? And this is, folks, this is the only show. Very, very few shows are actually reporting on this. That mainstream is either too afraid or they're just that they're not allowed to because of the Biden administration. The Biden administration's not authorizing them to do this. Check this out, guys.
Please enjoy this free clip from the No Spin News. For more great content and episodes on demand, simply visit BillO'Reilly.com today. I say things aren't going to get better for the Biden administration, and I know that because of Hunter Biden. Grand jury hearing allegations against Hunter now in Delaware. Looks to me like he avoided income tax payments. Also, there is no doubt that Joe Biden, his father, participated in Hunter Biden's foreign deals, business deals. There's no doubt about it. We gave you the facts yesterday. Hunter Biden's business associates going to the White House 19 times when Joe Biden was vice president. That doesn't happen without Joe Biden's permission. This is corruption. Okay, U.S. Grant did it. You know, his brother and other people. A lot of presidents did it. The Clintons were corrupt. All right? Nothing happened to them. They got away with it. The only thing that happened to Bill Clinton was the Lewinsky thing. They got away with everything else. Hillary got away with everything. Will Joe Biden get away with whatever he did, whatever corruption he participated in? Again, he did it. The president of the United States was corrupt. There's no doubt about it. And again, people don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe it. but I don't know. And I'm looking for a story on Monday. We're working on something. I don't know if it's going to rise to that. But between not enforcing the law on the border and Hunter Biden, and remember, this grand jury is either going to have Joe Biden's going to be under that cloud. You're not going to see the president much this summer. Okay, he's going to be in Rehoboth, Delaware, at his little beach house. Not going to see him here. But his attorneys have got to be worried now.
Yeah, they got to be worried, Sos. This goes back. I mean, Bill Riley making some really, really good political key points there. Every president has been corrupted. I mean, he mentioned Ulysses Grant, right? He was corrupted, right? They're all corrupted. Is Joe Biden going to be held for his crimes as then a vice president and now a sitting president, right? Who's the question? You know what I mean? Guys, we got a lot more here. I got to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these short words. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Burt Jones. When I played for Georgia, we won the SEC championship.
Here's one. And it'll be first and goal, Georgia.
Not just because we had great athletes, but because we were bonded together as teammates, united by that G on our helmets. An important lesson about the power of unity. And it's why I'm so opposed to teaching critical race theory in our school systems. Instead of teaching children about what divides us, we should be teaching our children about what unites us.
All right, guys, back here on the show. So glad to have Sos back on the show. Supposed to have Sos on the show last week with Vanessa, a songwriter and a conservative advocate. Sos, did you catch that show last week?
I did.
Vanessa? That was a really, really good show. Very rare that we have a woman such as her that speaks that conservatism. Very rare. You don't see too much of that, especially in the South.
No,
she happens to reside in Tennessee. So, yeah. But, Sos, we're talking about the Bill O'Reilly, basically, plugging in the whole Hunter Biden, the foreign dealings. I mean, this president, Sos, I mean, he had corruption as a vice president and now a sitting president. What's your thoughts on that, Sos? Because I mean, this is some bad stuff. What is your thoughts on that? Like, I mean, should Joe Biden be removed as president? I mean, I think he should. I mean, I don't know. I think he has shown a significant amount of corruption on his end and on a lot of different aspects on that. I think Nancy Pelosi should invoke the 25th on him, but she's not. They're going to keep him in office for several times. Sos, what is your viewpoints on the whole Joe Biden thing?
So Michael, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so here's what I think about the whole. So first of all, Nancy Pelosi isn't going to invoke because she's too drunk half of the time. Okay, that's number one. Okay,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Number two, if she were to invoke the 25th Amendment, you know who else would be? Petri Dish Harris would be next in line, and heavens forbid, she's worse than anybody else. Okay.
Yeah.
Number three, where are they going to? Okay, so. Why would you impeach somebody that you're good friends with, that you're in bed with? You wouldn't want to do that. It's like you're impeaching your best friend.
But they see that that this president is unfit. They see the corruption. They see the fragments of an old man that's just kind of just going through it as much as he can. We see it every single day, Sos. We see him speaking. We see him saluting flags that are not there. We see him shaking hands with people that are not there. We see it. If they see it, why do they keep him in office? At this point, Sos, I feel bad for Joe Biden. I really do.
So do I. I honestly think it should be, who all should be held accountable for elder abuse? His own family. His
Yeah.
wife really must not love him at all. And
Yeah,
neither
Dr. Jill, right?
Dr. Joe, who probably went online and actually went on Microsoft and put like a doctorate degree and say, hey, because I don't know what she's a doctor of incompetency or what? No. So, but the whole thing is that the reason
Some label just to make her feel good. That's all it is.
yeah, or no, she's probably a doctor of gender dysphoria, whatever it's called. So, no, I think the bigger thing that we should worry about is that what kind of if my wife was like that, or if I was married, and if I was like in that kind of a position, and if I really had a family that truly loved me, first of all, they would come talk to me, and I want them to be honest with me.
Yeah.
And if they tell me, hey, you know what, maybe you should go down, maybe you should step down, or maybe you should do something else, not be a world leader. We don't want we don't want your hand on the nuclear weapon, heavens forbid. Or maybe do something else, endorse somebody like what Hillary Clinton is supposedly doing.
Do you see them? If somebody goes on the press right now, in the press room of the White House, right? And actually has the cojones, right? The balls to say this to the new press secretary. Will Joe Biden agree on a cognitive test?
No.
Do you think after saying that on live television in the press room of the White House, do you think the press secretary, what do you think her thoughts would be, the new press secretary? What do you think they would be like? Joe Biden has passed the cognitive test several times. Oh, yeah? Let's see the records. Right?
Or like, oh, well, Joe Biden's too busy for a cognitive test, or for instance, or I'll get back to you on that because I need to speak to his doctors, and then she'll never get back to him.
Well, we see from Peppermint Patty, right? He's taken several tests already and passed them with flying colors. Okay.
Like, what's that? Can you eat a donut that's sitting in front of you? Okay. Or what's the color? What's your favorite color? It starts with a B and goes LUE, but the LUE is all lowercase. What does that spell? It starts blue. Oh,
but this is the same crap that they pulled on Trump, when they thought Trump was unfit and everything else.
Yeah, but at least his doctors, and Kellyanne Conway and at least his press secretary shot back at the media. And stated,
Kellyanne Conway had said, he had taken a cognitive test, Trump, many times.
And he released it to the public.
Yeah, Sarah Sanders said when she was press secretary that he had took a cognitive test. Even the current, Sean Spicer, the very first press secretary, Sean Spicer said that he took a cognitive test like the second or third day into his pregnancy, into his presidency, right? Pregnancy. Yeah. Don't just start with that. I mean, that's a whole different ball game. But
and see, the thing that President Trump did, he took those tests and made it public for the media. And that he had his own doctors, and his own doctors came out and stated that the White House doctors said, no, he's actually very healthy. Like, he is very, very well cognitive. And here's his results.
He's healthy and he has a high IQ. I mean,
yeah.
Can Joe stack the numbers on that one? No, I don't think Joe's IQ is anywhere compared Trump's.
No. Maybe he's got an IQ of a brain dead elephant.
His IQ is of a lemon. I mean,
yeah,
seriously.
Or Patrick Star from SpongeBob. You see how small his brain is? That's probably how big his is.
Yeah, that would be tremendous. Eric looking at me at the other end of the studio, laughing his ass off right now. We would have to put that on the show, Eric. With the new voice of Patrick Star on SpongeBob will be the voice of Joe Biden. Literally, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Can you imagine him talking? Like the other day he was talking. Did you see that speech? Like Joe Biden couldn't even get the damn speech out. Like
no, he couldn't.
About something stupid. He's like, hey, and he laughs about it.
Yeah.
I mean, oh God.
Yeah, and not only that, but you have and speaking of new speeches, and speaking of disinformation, and speaking of the White House, what did you think about that tweets of stating that we never had the vaccine until Biden came in, and that we're like down hundreds of millions of jobs with Joe Biden? It was all like we got it all back. And with his hard work and his administration, we finally got the vaccine rolled out. Okay, you're telling me that a couple months before in 2020, you saw Joe Biden and so-called getting the vaccine. You saw them photos and him stating, "Oh, get the vaccine," just like I did. Isn't that disinformation to the public as well? Why doesn't the White House press secretary come out saying, "Oh, those are bad, whoopsies"?
Yeah.
But they wouldn't, though.
Well,
What do you think about that?
This is how crazy and loony the left really sounds. I mean,
They're out of touch.
They're out of touch. They're out of control. They're radicalized. This is not the same Democratic Party of late JFK. It hasn't been the same Democratic Party of JFK. When JFK was sadly assassinated, right, and everything went down from that point. That's when the Democratic Party went downhill, literally downhill. And then we've seen some really, really bad candidates come out as presidents. You had Bill Clinton, you had other politicians, senators come into play. That's when the Democratic Party pretty much went down the crap hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like this whole abortion situation. Okay.
Yeah, huge distraction. Another distraction point. Yeah. The whole Johnny Depp story. I'm getting tired of hearing it. I really am.
Yeah, the whole I tell you the truth, I have better things to pay attention with.
I mean, Johnny Depp is a great actor, but I mean, I really don't want to sit on my couch for like 2, 3, 4 hours while they live stream the freaking court case. I mean,
Yeah, but they won't they wouldn't live stream. Let's see. I don't know what they wouldn't live stream.
Depending on the network you do, there's several networks that will live stream the entire court case.
And that's they got better. We got better things to do. But either way, what happened is, okay. My question is, how come nobody like that tweet of like all the justices' house and their address? Why wouldn't they protect the justices, the Supreme Court justices? And you have Nancy Pelosi stating that it's okay for you to like protest peacefully at their houses. First of all, that is privacy. Okay, invasion of privacy. Number one. Number two, why wasn't anybody? I mean, you do that like against a Democrat, or you'd be having the FBI at your house because heavens forbid they
would be IDing you from when the cows come home. I mean, literally.
Yeah. What do you think about that whole how that's been going on? Like I would have, and how they're like literally like you had I think there's one Supreme Court justice actually was removed from his house because his life was in danger, so that he's on an undisclosed area.
All right, that right there, you're making up a good point. Okay, and Sos, this touches the heart very, very severely here on the show. You have a bunch of mobsters, which they are, and
terrorists.
I'll say this, folks, they're mobsters.
Terrorists. Yeah,
they're domestic terrorists. And you have these group of thugs that are literally, Let me set the stage here. Folks, they do have a right to freedom of assembly, right? They do have a right to protest, which is freedom of assembly. They do have a right that. But when you go in front of these Supreme Court justices, private residences, right in front of their house, and you literally shout to the heavens on half this crap to them, that's not only invasion of privacy, but that's damn near harassment on extreme levels. These people live there. They have to put up with this crap. Their neighbors have to put up with this crap. They're tormenting these poor individuals.
Yeah, and that's so sad. And we won't see any leadership whatsoever. We wouldn't see, and we don't see any. Well, you can't do that. Like you can't say there's no such thing as like standing their ground. Instead, we see like that Chuck Schumer, who should have been impeached and he should have been criminally charged for setting a death threat to Neil Gorsuch and through Kavanaugh. That is actually a criminal offense when you look at it. But you got the I'm a politician card, or I whoops, I didn't mean to say that, that famous phrase. Oh, I didn't mean to say that in that kind of connotation. But like, for instance, the whole thing is that you can't be stating those kind of threats. And then like what happened in Wisconsin of last weekend, where that pro-life center where that bombing happened, you know how many arrests were made? Absolutely no arrests were made. And it meant,
what did Joe say? Did Joe Biden comment on that? I don't remember hearing anything. Not on CNN, not on MSNBC, not on Fox News, not on any of those channels. But I did hear it on the conservative platforms such as Newsmax and Newsweek and Right Side Broadcasting, right? all three of them, Sauce, they reported on it, but CNN, crooked CNN of Atlanta, Georgia, they didn't report on that.
No, and the only reason why I heard about it was because I actually was our neighboring. Well, it was actually Milwaukee, and I was actually in the area, so it was like that's why. I mean, I was like scared, like and it's interesting because I think I sent you a photo of what I like now carry in my car because I don't trust anyone. No offense, like I don't want to wait for a long response time. I'm not going to wait for that. I'm gonna.
Yeah, you did show me on what was it, a week and a half ago. You sent me a picture of like pepper spray and handcuffs,
bear spray and
like,
a
man,
baton.
you're telling me you're like Michael, it's not a rape kit,
It is, yeah. You made that joke. I'm like, no, it's not a rape kit. It's
No, you made the joke. You told me it's
Oh,
not
I
a
did?
rape kit. It's not a rape
Yeah.
kit. I'm doing
Well,
this for my protection, and
yeah.
I believe you. I believe
Yeah,
you. You're
we
a
should.
young college kid. You need to protect yourself.
Well, we shouldn't be having those. And you know what? And you know what the funny part? Okay, so you know how it was on Mother's Day weekend, and we had to actually have those. We actually had to be prepared. We had county sheriffs at our church for the first time, and it was on Saturday morning where they went through a quick look around, did a perimeter check, and then we had a huge presence on Sunday. That should not be your typical Sunday. No one should be afraid of going to church. And
Yeah.
what's really sad to hear was that we had Portage, Wisconsin. They had a church that was shut down because you had the leftists come and threaten the pastor and threaten everybody
Did you
inside the
see?
church.
You're talking about the church. We just got done talking about the protest and everything. But the great governor Ron DeSantis, literally. I mean, this is coming out. What was this? Just the other day, actually. Okay, that Governor Ron DeSantis, guys, and I'm not sure if you heard it on, you probably didn't hear it on CNN because they're not going to report on it, because it doesn't fit their agenda. But I'm not sure if you heard it, but I'll say it anyway here on the show. That way you can be enlightened to it. That Governor Ron DeSantis literally signs a law now in the state of Florida, making picketing, protesting outside a person's home illegal. Sas, if you get caught red-handed picketing or protesting outside a person's home, whether they're a lawmaker, a public or private citizen, any of that for that nature, it is now against the law in the state of Florida. In a statement, the Florida governor said this. Check this out, guys. You hearing this? Unruly mobs in front of homes of Supreme Court justices is inappropriate. This is coming from the mouth of the governor himself, Ron DeSantis. What's your thoughts on that, Sasha?
Man, we need that. He needs to run for vice president. You put President Trump as president and him as vice president.
Yeah.
Because he is fantastic. And you know what? I wish I was in Florida because you know what? Florida is like a state besides, them really expensive living, but that happens like that's going all across the board.
Well,
but
they say Florida is for the nearly dead or nearly retired. I mean,
well,
it's always been like that,
Well, I hate to say it, but Florida is becoming more of what America could look like.
There's freedom in Florida. It's like
yeah.
another country. It's like it literally is. It's like a United States 2.0, but like a lot better.
Yeah, and it's like what America could look like once they support their law enforcement. What America could look like if they back the blue. What America could look like if you allow both sides to speak. Well, I wouldn't say that because the Democrats there, they were unhinged because they went in.
Well, Florida is actually what America is supposed to stand for. I mean,
yeah. Well,
what DeSantis is doing is what America is supposed to stand for. What our founding fathers stood for 200 some odd years ago. Now, this is a bill that he signed into law, which is the HB 1571 law, right? The HB 1571. And literally, he said that, there's no warning. There's no warning whatsoever. If you get caught red-handed, a person, whether they're a bystander, even the person that owns the home, right? They have a right as a citizen to call the police, and the police will have a right to place you under arrest because it's a law. It should be in every state of America. It's harassment at extreme levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but it's harassment. And another thing is, the other question I have is psychotic. The fact that you have to go to somebody's residence and, it should be intent to harm. they should be charged with not only trespassing but intent to harm, because when you go to somebody's yard, you have so much hatred for them that you want to cause harm. And that's why I think it should be intent to harm first degree.
It all goes back to the, like, this is nothing new, folks. We've seen this. I said this time after time. I sound like a broken record or after a while saying it. Like, this goes back, Sos, back to the 1970s. This Roe versus Wade crap. This is nothing new. Millennials out there, they don't know because they're always repeating history because it was never taught to them. This is nothing new. It goes back to the 70s, when the whole abortion scenario came into play. And, you make a point, like, they have to go to people's homes. That's pathetic. These are like probably college kids that have nothing better to do on their Saturday afternoon. Right, they have to go these people's. They got to play computer little junkies. Right, they got to go on their computers and the keyboards, and they got to type and say, where does that justice live? Where does he live? Where does she live? They have to go in front of their homes, and they have to have their little 5-6 minute of fame, because that's what they normally do. Mainstream will plug in like a 3 or 4 minute video clip of these college nerds, right? No offense, Sos, but they're college nerds, and they have to sit in front with their little, Dollar Tree cardboard little posters and their little cheap markers and say, abortion should be humanity of rights, not the other way around. It's all crap.
And better yet, those are the same college kids that protest stating that we need our college debts paid off. I hate to say, my whole and okay, so I just want to say, okay, this whole forgiveness, like student loan forgiveness, I'm going to be very ticked. I'm already ticked about the immigration process, the immigration crisis. I'm still waiting for my money to get back. You know how much our family spent to make sure that I was an American citizen? Over $50,000.
But when they say student loan forgiveness, right? What the hell does I still don't understand what the hell that means, right? Student loan forgiveness. So that means basically you take out a loan, right?
Yep.
The government's going to forgive you that you can't pay it back.
Or you're going to be debt free.
What happens to the money? Yeah. What happens to the money that has to be paid back to these banks?
I don't know. Or what was all through taxes?
Do you think that's right? I mean,
no,
you're borrowing money,
yep.
Right? To take a loan out, right, which is a deposit, basically a down payment, right, and in another sense, you're borrowing money from a bank, an institute, a finance company, whatever. The parents taking it out, the kids taking it out, right? They take out a large sum of money to pay the tuition, maybe pay the books, this and that, dormitory fees, this and that, right? When it comes down to paying it back, right, they can't afford it.
No.
Well, why that? If you can't afford something, my parents would always say, God rest my mother's soul by saying this, but my mother would always say, right before she passed, right in 2009, she would tell me that if you can't afford something, you shouldn't borrow it in the first place.
Yeah,
that's what it breaks down to. But here, I want to plug this in, Sos, because we're gonna kind of depart here in a short period of time here. But this is coming out of Alex. What's his name? Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Right, the famous.
Infowars.
No, not Alex Jones. What the hell is his name? I gotta plug the video in. I know his name. He's becoming a famous YouTube blogger and vlogger. His videos are always going viral. He basically, this is coming out of his Alex something. Okay, once we plug the video in, now the name will come to me. But his videos, Sos, they automatically go viral. And this is basically him saying how people are realizing how crazy and loony the left really sounds, guys. Check this out.
Now, in this age of political correctness, where comics are cancelled or attacked for mocking anything left of Stalin, it is refreshing to see a man make his mark by going where others fear to tread. Alex Stein is a comic whose clips regularly go viral as he mocks the activist class, including mask enthusiasts who just cannot let go of the face panties, even when the mandates are lifted from airports and airlines in the US.
just because it's not mandatory doesn't mean that I'm not going to be safe. So I'm not worried about anything. With this on, I'm protected. So I'm going to trust the science. Trust in the science. Even though it's not necessary, I'm doing my part by wearing my mask. I have 8 masks on. See you in Phoenix.
You've got to trust the science, you really do. I spoke to Alex earlier today. Now, Alex, you've become a comedic sensation by having the courage to mock the excesses of the left, something most comedians shy away from. Let's have a look at you campaigning to be the next trans swimming sensation.
I'm trying to compete. And yes, I was born a boy. So what, guys? This is 2022. It doesn't matter what you're born. We have Ketanji Brown Jackson even says she doesn't even know what a woman is. So then I'm a woman. We have champions like my girl Leah, my sister, and she gets to win, but I don't. Why not? That's what I'm asking you. Why not? Why can't I swim against the ladies? Why are we having a transphobic world where I just want to compete? And I'm on so much hormone therapy, I don't even know left or right anymore. So I'm doing this. I don't have an unfair advantage. No way. So I need you guys to stand up. We have a city issue, Rick, and we can actually fix this and let me compete against the ladies. I'm sick of these women. Oh, you're having an unfair advantage.
Alex, just outrageous stuff. Is there any topic you won't touch?
No, Rita, that's the thing is in this day and age, there's a huge comedic void. We have to be politically incorrect. If you look at the top movies from the 90s, it was like Pulp Fiction, American Pie. And the top movies of 2022, it's like Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And so right now, you look at Saturday Night Live, that used to be a viral sensation. But because of political correctness, it stinks. Comedy is dead. So now when I go up and I speak at these meetings, I'm really just regurgitating what they say in the mainstream media, what they say on CNN. And this is the issue is like, obviously I'm a comedian. I want to make people laugh, but you have Leah Thomas who swam on the men's team for 3 years, was ranked 457th in the men's collegiate rankings, then goes to the women's the next year and wins 2 NCAA championships in 2 different events. And nobody is standing up for the women. So really and truly what I'm doing, I'm almost a hack comedian. I'm just taking what they do on the mainstream here in America, what Don Lemon says. Don Lemon, who's one of the biggest hosts of CNN, who says white supremacy is their biggest problem, is married to a white guy. So they're all hypocrites. So all I'm doing is what it's called culture jamming, Rita. I'm taking those absurd part of our culture and jamming it in people's faces, and they're realizing how crazy and how loony the left really sounds.
And you're not...
Guys, if you want to see that clip in its full entirety, go over to his channel, right? He's on Rumble too. Alex Stein, that's the name. I knew his name started with Alex, but I never knew it. I forgot always the last name. He's a comedian, guys. His videos automatically go viral on the internet. This guy, like he says, you know, he's bringing back comedy into America because it's dead. You can't even say anything now on comedy. You know, we seen what was it, a couple weeks ago, the little segment from the Grammys, right? When Chris Rock and Will Smith, right? Where Will Smith was like, keep my fucking wife's name out of your fucking mouth. You know, I mean, comedy is dead. It's dead, Sos. You know, and this guy is trying to, basically, what's that word? The biblical word, right? He's trying to not rebirth it, but when you come back to life, right?
Well, resurrect it.
Resurrect it. There you go. I'm so glad I have Sos there to help me out with these things. But he's trying to resurrect comedy because comedy is looked at as an oversensitive, touching type of industry, right? Well, you can't say anything even on Saturday Night Live. They look at you like, what is wrong with you? You're showing white supremacy on Saturday Night Live. You can't make fun of Bill Clinton. You can't make fun of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. But it's okay if you make fun of Donald Trump and Melania Trump. It's okay because they're different.
Well, and not only that, but I don't know if you also heard what happened on, I think it was last Wednesday where this gal, she was a comedian and she was on stage with 5 other comedians. And this one gal, it was in Los Angeles. This one gal put like her mask over her nose and they stopped the skit. They stopped in the middle of their performance and she got grilled heavily. this gal's chat. Put your mask on because you're hurting you're hurting the people around you while others had their masks and stuff.
Oh yeah. We plugged that in last week when we had Vanessa on the show last week. That was on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. What
Bunch
are you?
of hypocrites. Bunch of hypocrites, Sos. I mean,
Yeah.
they had that on. They had that on The View, right? Whoopi was like literally saying, do what she says. She doesn't want to catch a COVID and this and that. Okay, well,
Stay home.
She's got to catch the damn thing, Sos, because she's on stage and she's not wearing a damn mask.
Yeah,
so
and
who's the
she's
hypocrite, right?
Yeah, and not only that, but like, and I just want to tell you, anyone that's on The View, come on, give me a break. Do you really? And there are some people in actually, there's a huge population in Madison that think of View as like the truth and honest news. Anyone that thinks, and tell you the truth, anyone that says, hey, you know what, I'm going to wear a mask for the rest of my life. If you want to wear the mask for the rest of your life, kudos to you. Way to put your, go ahead, but don't force upon that, and don't belittle people that think differently.
But here's the point to that, Sos. If you want to put a mask on, put the mask on. But like you said, don't have me think that I'm going to join the same bandwagon as you and have me put the mask on, because if I don't want to wear the mask, I'm not going to wear the mask. You know why, Sos? That's my God-given right as an American, okay, to either wear it or not wear it. That's why our society, Sos, is literally dropping the Kool-Aid effect, because this whole mask crap, Sos, is turning into a cult. It really is.
Because God never created. Okay, on the seventh day, God created a mask so that Adam and Eve would be protected, to have protected sex. God didn't create a mask so they can just wear it all around. I'm trying to add biblical humor, but like,
yeah, we get it. I mean, there's a big YouTuber out there, Morgog, if you ever catch his channel, where he actually will take the Bible and reverse it, where he says that Satan and Lucifer are really not the same people. They're two different people.
They're very well the same.
Yeah, you got to catch his channel. I mean, he's another person that tries to mix everything up, just like the ladies on The View, right? Well, they'll bring Christianity into it, they'll bring the Bible into it, and they'll say, well, do you think Jesus really would want us to be unprotected and walk around without a mask on? He would want us to be protected and this and that. I don't think Jesus would want that. I think Jesus would want us to be free and open to make our own decisions, right? I mean, to label that on a show and bring Christianity into it is, Sos, it's an attack on not only biblical warfare, but it's attack on religious warfare.
And it's spiritual warfare. That's what it is.
Exactly. Whether you're spiritual or religious, because you could probably relate this here, and I me, Eric, everybody here on the show, we catch your show. Remember, God loves you, and I'll meet you at the Finish Line podcast, guys. You can catch Sos on Spotify. Give you a little plug in there on the show, Sos. But I mean, listen, okay, spirituality and religion are two different things. You're either spiritual or you're religious. You could be both, but they're two different aspects. But to bring that in on a show like The View, okay, and say, do you really think that Jesus would want you to walk around without a mask, infect everybody? I mean, that's wrong. That's wrong on a lot of different things. You know what I mean? You're bringing in religious or spirituality aspects onto a show, and you're trying to hijack it into American society. That's what they're doing, Sos. They're trying to hijack the spiritual world and the religious world.
And absolutely. And what they're also doing is that when they do that, so here's my whole perspective. Okay, I understand if you're Christian, if you're not Christianity, if a religion and spiritual is a whole complete different thing, because a religion, there's a whole bunch of religions, but spiritual is when you're closer with God and you're closer with that. And what they're trying to do is that they're trying to make a mockery of God, and they're trying to mockery and demonize him, and see, that's the thing that's a pet peeve of mine. But the sad part is that they're trying to tailor that 1% or that 5% that just might be Christian. They're like, oh yeah, he would wear it, for those Catholics, who I think are, that could be for another podcast. But realistically, I just think what they're doing is that they're making a mockery of us, of God and what He intended us to do as well being on Earth, and that God, if He wanted us to be a robot, He would make us a robot, and we would not have a free will thinking. We'd be in a whole different perspective. We'd be up in heaven, actually. No, we would be up in heaven. But we're not. God, He loves us, each and every single one of us, and so that's why He instilled us the free will to choose where we either want life or death.
Yeah. I mean, this is. I mean, we've seen this out of CNN. Where they're. I mean, this was just a few years ago. I know it's old news though, but I'll say it on the show anyway. That I mean, this is nothing new out of CNN. They're known for demonizing both Christianity and spirituality as well. That I don't know if you've read that one topic that they put out on CNN.com where they actually said that Black Christians are bracing for white lash. You remember that?
Or how how they all suddenly now, just because Joe Biden's a Catholic, they have all these priests on the CNN and stuff, and they're like, can he still do communion just because? No, you jackass, he wouldn't do. I mean, does God allow communion and stuff since He's doing all these different policies? No, you wagon.
You do mention a good point on Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden, a well-known Catholic, right? He's a Catholic.
Is he though?
Yeah, but is he really a Catholic? You would think
so.
As a Catholic, right, that he would have some type of sense towards this whole abortion crap that's going on, right? But he doesn't comment on that, I mean, I know Catholics. Some Catholics are very, very highly against abortions. They believe that when you abort, and this is coming from some Catholics, not all Catholics feel this way, but some Catholics will tell you, and some of the quotes in the comments that come out of them, they use it very, very loosely, and some may say extreme levels, by when somebody does have their own decision and they go to that point where they want to elect to terminate the pregnancy. A Catholic will speak out and say that by terminating a pregnancy is the will of the devil, right?
Yep. And what you're doing is that the moment that you do an abortion is that it's actually, besides blaspheming God and denying His deity, you are also committing one of the second worst sins, which is taking another innocent life. And you're purposely doing it, and it's out of spite or out of hatred. Because you have to have so much hatred for that little baby that doesn't even have a voice. You have to have so much hatred for it that you want to rip it out of your body. And that was God's intended purpose, and that that individual had a purpose. And the funny part is, actually, we're talking about living with a purpose, and that's actually correlated with my podcast today, talking about living with a purpose and how we each and every single one of us have a different aspect, and we have a unique path, that God intended us. And we can't disturb that, because God does get us offended. Now, He doesn't get offended. He weeps when that one kid is aborted. He weeps when there's even one attemption.
Sure.
Because the reason why is because we're all unique. Each and every single one of you, and even the listeners that are listening right now, you are all unique in God's eyes, and that He loves you. No matter what you've gone through, He's always there, and He'll always be there for you no matter what.
Yeah.
But the moment that you take the innocent life, God pretty much has to judge you, and that you have to face judgment because you disturbed His plan and you distorted His plan into yours, and that's what sin likes.
Yeah.
So,
but here's my question here. I have a question, okay, and I'd like to have your comment on it if you like. If you don't want to comment on it, it's your own discretion, your own choice, right? That's what makes us Americans so great. We have a choice to make our own decisions, right? We live in a country, even though it's under a melting pot of what I call it on the show, we still have a choice. Now, here's my choice here. I want to close it out. We're talking about Christianity. We're talking about abortions. We're talking about everything, right? Agendas, so to speak, of this new radicalized government that we live under. Do you think, okay, or is the media truly biased against Christianity, Sos?
Oh boy, that's a question. That's a question. Well, do I think
I
that
knew it was going to be a tough question to ask
it
because
is.
I know
I
your
love it.
avenue and I know your passion on Christianity because I mean Sos actually has a podcast, folks, where he devotes his 15 minutes or 30 minutes of his time every single day. Sometimes there's like 2 or 3 episodes a day. I mean, this guy is like working around the clock to get the content out there to keep the Christianity movement alive and well. There's not a lot of podcast hosts out there that will do
No.
it. But
Well,
do you think that that the media is biased against Christianity because it's a topic that never gets brought up, Sas?
yeah. Well, here's my whole perspective on it. Right now I think it depends on waves, but I do really think that the media is against Christianity. And here's
Yeah.
why. Because if you for instance, how you see like a somber, like you see a story like, hey, you know what, for instance, you'd be surprised of how many people turned me away because I'm like, hey, you know what, I was wondering if I may tell my story about how I overcame this major illness in my life and how it was God correlated and how he affected my life and how my Christian faith got me through it.
Right.
And the sad part is that they're like, oh yeah, we'll think about it. Compared to if somebody's like, hey, you know what? Here's what I think about gays and all this. I'm a Muslim and stuff, and they'll donate him like about 10 minutes. I personally think that the media they're strongly and they suppress Christians because you can't go and that you can't because what they think of Christians now is that as a Bible believing people and that are like against abortions and all that and against multiple like against or against the 10 commandments and that for it and that we should live it biblically. But the media is like, and here's what sin does though. Sin is a great deceiver and that sin distorts the media. And so if a media, and I've met people that used to work on news medias and they started bringing the Bibles to work and they started bringing the Bibles and kind of saying a prayer before and they got fired from their job. And
well, this is also here. I want to don't mean to cut you off, but this is coming from the great Rush Limbaugh, right? From the Rush Limbaugh show, dating back to April 2nd of 2015, right? What was it, about 8 years ago, right? On his show, he said this on his show that the media, right?
Yep.
Quote in the media, they view Christianity as an evil majority. They hate Christianity, just in it or of itself. They hate what Christianity stands for. This is coming from the great Rush Limbaugh, right? Also, too, that, relating that is media literally biased against Christianity. Everybody remember Molly Hemingway, right? She's a senior editor for a conservative web magazine, criticizes media coverage of the Indiana religious freedom law, arguing that news sources misrepresented the legislative.
Yes, and I agree with Rush, and I agree with them 100%. I do believe that the media portrays as Christians as all these bad white supremacists like you and I, and that is because of our faith and stuff. And that's where I feel like that the media does more damage upon Christians. But when bad things happen, though, the cameras are out. Because have you noticed this whole agenda, this whole gay marriage and stuff? Have you noticed what group was targeted against this whole gay marriage and to undermine their credibility and to undermine the Bible and kind of distort what Christianity now looks like? They went after the church. Baker versus Nelson. That court case back in 19...
I remember that.
Yes. Yeah. And that went right after the church. And what did the church do? And what did the multiple Christian faith leaders do? They're like, we want that 5013 still. We want that 5013C still. So we're going to comply. We're going to change it a little bit. But then, for example, you bring in for example, my podcast, and you bring in other people that are very well evangelized. Billy Graham, for instance. Now, I'm not correlating myself to Billy Graham. They demonized Billy Graham and Franklin Graham and all these strong Christians, but they're so eager to go after Benny Hinn, who's like, oh, this is all your regular Christians. They go out after your money and stuff, all these churches and stuff. So I do believe that the media goes after Christians and goes after churches when they shouldn't be, when they have bigger priorities to go.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to end it.
Yeah, I mean, It's a touching subject. It really is. But this goes back to and we're going to end it here in a few moments here. But Sas, this could be the next topic on your next podcast episode. I mean, guys, we just gave a pilot away, maybe for a possibility of another topic on Sas's podcast.
Well, so if anyone wants to know, I know I've had people reach out to me and state that if I'm on Facebook or not. I am no longer on Facebook. Facebook has done their good diligence on removing me from making anything. So
isn't that a shame though? That's sad, Sauce.
It is. So the cool thing is that I'm officially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and so you're welcome if you have any of those platforms, or if you also have if you could just look up Soslin Teemanson in your web browser, SOSLAN, and then TEMANSON. If you look up that name or put "Remember God Loves You" and I'll meet at the finish line, the podcast will show right on up. And you're welcome to give our follow or listen to it daily. We post daily, and they're about 10 to 15 minutes long, and they're meant to encourage you and meant to keep your faith up and be positive at the end of the day, because there's podcasts, so much going after people and so much hate. So I like to switch it around. And after all, I'll be on here as well with Michael as a Patriot Review as well. So you're welcome to give me a follow on any of those.
Sas, it's been an honor here. I do want to ask you two questions here before we leave, and I'll make it really, really quick. Are we going to see your podcast eventually make its launching on the conservative platform of Rumble?
I'm still, so because of Facebook and stuff, and because of Google, I can no longer Rumble. They still said no.
They said no, huh? Wow.
Because of my podcast, talking about how all lives matter and talking about how they said I'm too Christian.
You're
Rumble
too Christian. Wow, and this is coming from a conservative platform, and they're saying wow, okay.
And the only reason why, here's why, because I did research on it. Rumble is owned by Google because they have Google's URL, and so that's the reason. And I'm not on Google Podcasts. They all stripped it down, and I asked Google Podcasts, and they stated that any Google products, like for instance YouTube and stuff, they took all those down, and it's because Rumble's owned by Google. That's why Rumble said no.
But then you have mentioned that you are on True Social, though, right?
I am, and if anyone,
there you go, plug in your True Social. We are not on True Social. We hope to be on that bandwagon very, very soon on True Social. But
so if anyone has Truth Social, okay, so I'm at Sauceman 2024. If anyone has Truth Social, I am at Sauceman 2024. I post stuff, and it is unfiltered. It feels good not to be unfiltered.
Well, you're always welcome on the show. This is an unfiltered show, and we do allow very, very unfiltered content. And
hey, that's fantastic. That's what America's for. America's for to have, like, people want to listen, then they don't have to.
Exactly. And last question here, Sas. I want to give you an open invitation this Wednesday. If you are available, we will have the final installment from the great author himself, Joseph M. Leonard, on the final installment this Wednesday evening. Around the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, and 4 p.m. Pacific. Joseph M. Leonard, the author of Terror Strikes, will be joining the show for the final and fourth installment of that mega podcast episode. We will also be featuring the social media American Jeopardy. It's going to be a really interesting show. We're going to actually have that on live video, guys, where we're going to have different topics. Can I pick Joe Biden as an idiot for 400? I mean, different topics. I can't give out too many of the categories, Sauce, but I think you're really going to be interesting because it's going to be a really, really funny show as we close it out with the final and fourth installment of Joseph M. Leonard. With that show will be Jimmy the Rant back on the show on this Wednesday, and hopefully, if Sauce, if you have the availability, man, I'd love to have you on the show.
Oh, absolutely. And hopefully I'm trying to get this whole video thing going. So
yeah, we'd love to have you on video because that whole thing is going to be a video with Joseph M. Leonard, Jimmy the Rant, myself, Michael here, and then hopefully Sauce here with the social media American Jeopardy digitalized board behind us. So that's going to be a really, really good one.
I just have to work around the schedule. I'm going to have to do some readjusting, but I put my name on the docket.
All right. Sounds good. Guys, you heard the man of faith and reason here, Soslin, of his podcast, Remember, God loves you, and I'll meet you at the finish line. Available on Spotify, guys. Check out his episode. Really, really good stuff. He gets into the words of God and the scriptures. Sos, it's been an honor, man. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday.
Oh, absolutely. And remember, God loves you, and I'll meet you at the finish line.
Alrighty. Thanks a lot, guys.
Patriot Unfiltered. You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle Podcast, an unfiltered Patriot Productions. Please follow us on Facebook at the Patriot Angle Podcast and Instagram at Patriot_Angle_Unfiltered. Also, you can hear every episode on Amazon Music, Audible, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcast. You can also check out our website, PatriotAnglePodcast.com, and also our unfiltered merchandise, PatriotUnfiltered.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.